What's going on, everybody? This is another installment of Everyday Genius here with your resident black chemist. It's Black Chemist, so Black Chemist Kristen Robinson. It's been a while.
Yeah.
It's been a good while, and also here, as you hear in the background, more laughter is the man himself, head honcho, the guy who graciously helped a lot of this like take off in this platform, Derek Myers. So,
I'm glad to be here, bro. We've been talking about this for a while.
boy, man, people don't even know. People
Yeah.
don't even know.
Yeah. Been a
Uh,
minute.
yeah, yeah, man. It's been a whole lot of life between,
Oh
whole
yeah.
lot of life between
Oh yeah. Yeah.
since the last episode. I have gotten a new job, stopped that job between, relocated literally to the other end of the U.S. Got a
Yeah.
brand new job, new schedule. So yeah, man, it's been getting adjusted to going from Central Time to Eastern Time to Pacific Time.
Yeah. Yeah. And that I bro, the time zones, trying to coordinate time zones with people is so weird.
Ooh, ooh.
So weird. I
It's
I
almost like making a LeBron roster work the first year. Oh, no, no shade. No shade.
this literally never worked the first year.
And then you just restart.
Yeah, you just restart. Hey, we good now.
Yeah.
That's
Hey,
hilarious.
hey, the people who get it.
Yeah.
Oh,
Oh, man.
yo, I'm like I said, I'm glad we're doing it. I've had some friends who gave me some valuable feedback concerning everything.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
blessed up. Got gifted with a nice mic to improve my sound quality, and yeah.
Yes, sir.
Um, Within that, I know today's episode specifically is going to be talking about again COVID, and I know that was the last episode as well. The biggest factor and the most important thing is there have been a lot of developments with COVID since the last episode, and
Like
um,
two or three
you know,
times over.
man, yes, COVID is every bit of Bad Boy Records. It
Yeah.
thought it told you it won't stop. It invented the remix, and I need us to understand that.
Yeah.
So let's go, Brett. I mean, go ahead and break down those production credits.
Man. That nigga coming in hot, bro.
Ooh,
Coming in hot.
yeah. I think COVID was laying in wait when people was like, "We outside." It's like perfect.
Oh, and look, it never went away in Georgia.
Whew.
Georgia, Florida, Texas, all been wilding.
Oh,
All
I
been
don't
wilding
I
out.
don't think they ever tried to stop wilding.
No, no.
Like,
That's
what's a
why
mess?
this is exactly why I don't go out. I'm a germaphobe. All right. I've been a germaphobe since I was a kid. And it's literally gotten worse as I gotten older. So
Okay,
the way I
deserved.
was at in I'd say 2019
Yeah.
till now, significantly worse.
Ooh.
Significantly worse. And I was already socially awkward sometimes
Yeah.
going places, and yeah, I guarantee that's not happening. That ain't happening for a long time. I'm not trying to hang out with people. I'm not trying to go to any birthday parties. I'm not none of that. None of that. I'm good. I'm good.
Yeah. I'm outside, but my head is on a swivel.
Yeah.
Even with vaccination,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I keep that thing on me, aka a mask. You know what I'm
I was about to say,
saying?
okay,
So,
nice, good, good.
oh yeah, yeah.
Have you been vaccinated?
So yes, I have been vaccinated. I am what they call fully vaccinated. And
Okay.
one thing is we need to break down the difference between being vaccinated and fully vaccinated.
Okay.
So first things first is after you receive like the shot, depending on which one you get Pfizer's, you get Moderna's, or you get Johnson and Johnson. The three most prevalent in the U.S. It takes a set period of time for your body to have like fully encompassed everything that's been put into you and
Mhm.
utilize it to its highest level of effectiveness.
And so I just got my second shot.
Okay.
What was that? Last Friday. Yeah, it's been a week now. Got it last Friday. So I ended up getting the Pfizer uh, vaccine, which that just got the FDA approval, right?
You said which one?
Pfizer.
Pfizer?
Yeah.
Yes, sir. It did.
Yeah. So what are the differences between the actual vaccines themselves?
Yeah, they're basically the same when you talk about like Pfizer and Moderna. Like they both use what are called mRNA technologies,
Mm-hmm.
and so the extra short version, because of course off the top of my head biology is not the strongest of my sweets.
Yeah, yeah.
uh, the genetic coding material that exists in our body, right?
Mm-hmm.
It has randomized orders of, I shouldn't say randomized, like the body knows, we just don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But it has like orders of like nucleic acids, and these are things that are like adenosine, tyrosine, so on and so forth. Even if you don't remember that stuff, it's basically like there are four main instructions, and that's DNA. Your body like has it all in order,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like being copied, right? And when it's being copied, um, with the RNA, like RNA comes in like multiple forms that have multiple purposes. And basically, what the vaccine does is it copies one of those forms of RNA or like to have DNA, and it basically mimics the virus as though you have actually been infected
Mm-hmm.
without you actually having been infected. So it kind of like tricks your body into thinking that it's been infected without having to have dealt with the actual infection.
Mm-hmm.
So your body's going to start making preparations to deal with the infection, even
Right.
though it's not in your body, right?
Okay.
And so basically, they both operate the same. They're just different versions of doing that. And
Okay.
so I know some people who may hear this may have some critiques over like some of the general language that I'm using, and it's not specific enough, or it may not be as technical. I will blend very technical concepts, very high level concepts with general level like knowledge and lingo, and even some things that won't be so technical and hardcore, because the purpose of this podcast is to make sure that people who aren't familiar can become more familiarized. The goal of
Right.
this podcast is not to speak to people who are at my level, above my level, in my field.
Right.
It's
Right.
called everyday genius, not everyday chemist.
Yeah.
So just to get that out there. So I know people are like, "Hey man, but what about them?" Like, trust me,
Yeah.
this will give a baseline level of knowledge for people to have the understanding they need. Because one of the biggest gripes that I have with science in the general public
Mm-hmm.
is that we don't have um, generalized science standards in the
Mm-hmm.
American education system, especially
Mm-hmm.
across like secondary school, primary school, so on and so forth. So what you end up having happen is this school might require you to take chemistry. That school might not require it at all. Like I went to college and people had never taken a chemistry course in their life. And
Mm-hmm.
meanwhile, the chemistry course I took was so good that I actually never even opened the book my first semester and got like a 88 out of the class.
Jesus.
And that's the thing, right? So again, like the big focus with this is making sure that we can bridge that gap that exists, because
Mm-hmm.
people hear a lot of terms but they're like vastly unfamiliar with the information.
Yeah, no, and I love that. I love that about the show anyway, because that helps um with people like me who don't get the technical terms to be able to understand what you understand. So I appreciate that. Um, I know for myself, I
Yeah,
was hesitant with getting this vaccine.
for sure.
I was hesitant. I don't do medicine in general. Like, to be completely honest,
I feel it.
I don't even take the flu vaccine. so
I feel that.
so I was like, yeah, there's no way in hell I'm gonna go do that. And and then also combine that with the history that we as black people have had with medicine and
Ooh,
you know like
ooh. Talk on it.
so I know like the hesitancy that we as a people have with taking it. But I know
Yeah.
one thing that helped me realize that I need to go ahead and get it was truly understanding and realizing this shit ain't going away like anytime soon. Two,
No, and yeah.
two, I like people gotta like actually try to look out for each other.
Yeah.
I have people in my life that um have asthma and other things that even had pneumonia, then had COVID pneumonia as well. So I wouldn't want to bring it and then now they're infected with it. So just had to bite the bullet on it. I'm like, whatever. I don't get stuff
Yeah.
anyways, but you know also got to get a job, like because I lost my job with because of COVID. So now having to go find a new
That's
job,
real.
there's times where there are places that require you to have vaccine, there are other places that don't require it. I'm just gonna go ahead and get it because if I so happen to get a job that requires it, I'm already ahead of the game. So yeah, it what would you say for people that were in my position though that don't want to get it?
Okay, so that's actually a super good question. And let me take a step back, by the way, in case I left any stones unturned or didn't give like enough concise or succinct clarity with the vaccines.
Mm-hmm.
Just taking again a step back. The Pfizer and Moderna vaccines are roughly the same. It's like Pepsi and Coca Cola,
Okay.
basically. They're
Okay.
going to have very similar taste. You have your preference. They're two-shot dose vaccines. You get
Mm-hmm.
one dose, your body builds an immune response, and you get a second dose, and it increases that immune response using,
Mm-hmm.
again, mRNA technology, which is, you can look at it as like a half strand of DNA or like half completion of a genetic code,
Mm-hmm.
and it's basically just the code, not the virus. And
So there's no virus in these
in the mRNA,
vaccines.
none at all, and not in the mRNA vaccines. There is no virus,
Okay. Okay.
and that's what people need to understand. They're like, they're injecting us with it. They're not injecting you with the virus.
Yeah.
They're injecting you with what the virus would. Let's see, what's a good way to put it? It's basically like when you ask people a what if question,
Mm-hmm.
like, what would you do if this happened? And
Mm-hmm.
somebody could say, well, it's not happening. And it's like, but yeah, I know it's not happening, but what would you do if it happened?
Yeah.
And you kind of get people in that mind frame of preparation.
It's
So
almost
if
like a
something
fire
did
drill.
happen, he says almost like a what?
Almost like a fire drill.
Exactly. So like the mRNA vaccines are like literally the penultimate fire drill for your immune system.
Okay.
And it's like, hey, there's no vaccine, but here's all the instructions. So when you get hit with excuse me, there's no virus. So when you get hit with the virus, you can know exactly what to do and be prepared, not try to figure it out during.
Gotcha.
I took the Johnson and Johnson, which is the one shot, and that has um, more or less a virus in it. It's a dead version. You could look at it that way.
Mm-hmm.
To be more technical, it's like most of the genetic material, but not all of the genetic material. Um, and your body is like, hey, this is completely dead. It can't do a thing to us. I shouldn't say dead, but like it's inactive. It can't do anything to us.
Mm-hmm.
However, I still recognize that this is a virus. I have studied said virus and I know how to deal with said virus.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
So that's the version I took, which gives you a stronger immune response in one shot.
Okay. Okay.
Now, back to your current question.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what would I say to people that don't want to take it? Um, heads up, I don't get paid for this. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like, I don't get subsidies. I don't get broken off by any of these companies.
Yeah.
Just on a scientific tip, I find that it is important to get vaccinated. And so, I did a couple of Q&As and some Facebook groups that I'm in, you know, did one on my personal page and conversations that I've had with people in public at the gym, so on and so forth. And one of the biggest things that people say is like, I mean, I could still get COVID. What's the point of getting a vaccine?
Mm-hmm.
And so it's more or less understanding like all of the words that were associated with, I don't, not the warning, but kind of like the advisement with getting the vaccine. And is that if you become vaccinated, it reduces your chances of hospitalization,
Right.
right? And we
Right.
don't want to twist that into, I can't get COVID. No, you can actually still get COVID. There is a small chance, especially if it mutates, which we've clearly seen that it has.
Mm-hmm.
However, there are people who become hospitalized.
Mm-hmm.
It can develop into pneumonia. You can get like scarring on your lung tissues, which are super soft. You know, like your lung tissues are like paper mache as opposed to like your skin tissues being cardboard, if that puts it in
Oh
perspective.
wow.
So, you think about you accidentally bump into a wall, or sometimes you're like, did I cut myself? And you look at your arm and it's not a mark.
Mm-hmm.
That would do major damage if it was internal,
Got you.
right?
Okay. Okay. Okay.
You know, um, and that's kind of like what we have to like put in perspective, that people who end up getting hospitalized, that's why it takes them so long to recover. You've seen NFL players that are like, hey, I'm in the best shape of my life. I can run 40 yards in like 4 seconds. I run literally hundreds of yards to sprint a game. I'm lifting, hundreds and hundreds of pounds. I got COVID and I can barely go up the stairs without getting winded right now.
Right.
You're talking about like prime shape people
Right.
who are world class athletes. And it's like, that's why it's important to get vaccinated. It's a preventative measure to make sure that you don't end up in that condition. And keep in mind, we're talking about world class athletes are having that bit of like trouble recovering.
Mm-hmm.
If you're not a world class athlete, if you're not in that level of shape or physical condition, it can cause significant issues, if
Mm-hmm.
not kill you.
Mm-hmm.
And again, it's not to create conspiracy. It's not to create fear or create panic. Um, I just think we don't talk about preventative medicine enough.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
We always look at medicine as being a savior after the fact, but
Right.
medicine can also be preventative, so you can not have to deal with it, right? The
Right.
before the fact. That's
Right.
important too.
Right. Right. Yeah. I mean, I had COVID last year. Last December, I had COVID,
Oof.
and I think it took me about a month and a half to fully recover,
Yeah.
and then probably another month or so before I was able to actually get back into working out.
Mm.
So like, yeah, I know I don't want to deal with that again. I had all the symptoms that would be like listed on social media or the news or whatever, like pretty much
Yeah.
all that. I've never felt my heart rate go up like that before. Never had high blood pressure. um like I would go to sleep bundled up because I'm cold, but I'd wake up in sweats. You know what I'm saying? Like it
Hmm.
was. it just I don't want to deal with that again. I honestly, I nah, I'm good on that. I'm good on that.
That's
Which was
real.
another reason why I went ahead and got it. You know, like the small headache that I had after the fact with the vaccine, which was like maybe a few minutes long. Um, the main thing that irritated me was my arm being sore. You
Yeah.
know, so I like
And
it didn't bother me like that.
yeah, and that's because these shots are, they have to penetrate the muscle,
Mm-hmm.
right? So it's basically like a very tiny bruise.
Right.
And it's very site specific. So people are like, yeah, but my whole arm. It's like, no, no, it's really just that area. But again, if you were to be concerned about, how well can you move your arm after a shot, this kind of speaks to how physically prepared are you.
Mm-hmm.
I work out maybe 6 to 7 days a week.
Mm-hmm.
I We can talk about this in a different episode. Might pull like 11 straight days. I regularly visit the sauna at like 190, 195 degrees. I probably spend like 25, 26 minutes in it at a time.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and that's the type of work that I do, right?
Mm-hmm.
I love, 500 plus rep days. I will do
Yeah.
500, 600, even 1,000 reps of an exercise. I will still do cardio, whether I bike like 8 to 10 miles or I will box,
Yeah.
or I might row. Like, if you're not doing stuff like that,
Mm-hmm.
then yeah, you're going to feel pain differently. You're going to recover differently. My
Mm-hmm.
muscles are used to being put through the rigor. There are people who are in far better shape than me whose muscles and body is being used to like that amount of rigor. If
Mm-hmm.
you don't have that, and a poke in your arm has basically rendered you inoperable for like 3 or 4 days.
Mm-hmm.
And this is not to be offensive. It should let you know you really aren't prepared should you actually get the virus itself,
Mm-hmm.
like without vaccination. And again, I think a lot of us understanding how this works is based on the education we received early on,
Mm-hmm.
and it's equal parts beautiful and super annoying. Like, if I'm just frank, I kind of get pissed off a lot. But
Yeah.
the internet has made things so accessible. Like when we were kids, we had AOL.
Yeah. You literally had to sit and wait.
Yes, like you had to call in to get internet access. We knew about
uh,
like 3 or 4 websites.
yeah.
Like, cell phones did not have cameras. You
Shit.
like
You had a cell phone back then?
exactly. The only reason I got a cell phone because I was playing football when I was like 12, and my mom was like at work or whatever. So
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
making sure like she knew where I was at, like calling my grandma or something. Before that, man, shoot, I leave the football field to walk across the street, use the
Yeah.
payphone or something.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So,
Like, now we got this like in our pockets 24/7, more websites than you can imagine. You
mm-hmm.
got Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, man, you got TikTok, you got text threads, you got pretty much anything you want to disseminate information at all times about
Yeah,
anything you want.
yeah,
And people have to understand that your voices have power. There are people who trust and believe you. And
yeah,
so it's important to do one of three things: either A, tell the truth and tell facts; B, correct and admit if you've made a mistake and
mm-hmm.
then tell the truth and tell the facts; or C, don't say anything.
Yeah, yeah. And see, that's the thing about the whole thing with social media. Um, it's hilarious to me how many doctors I've come across on social media since this pandemic hit. I'm talking about, I mean, quote unquote doctors,
Yeah, I know, man.
because like it
Yeah.
seems like everybody knows everything with this, which was another reason why I was hesitant with getting the vaccine, because it seems like everybody knows exactly what's happening. Because I can't tell you how many times I heard someone say that the vaccine, I mean the virus was actively in the vaccine. Um, the
Mm-mm.
microchipping thing, which makes no sense to me because of the fact that
Oh goodness.
you carry this around with you every day, right? You have your
Yes.
phone with
He's
you.
holding up a cell phone, y'all.
So why would they insert a chip into your arm if they can track you with your phone? Um, and then now you have people that are using deworming, horse deworming,
Man,
medication
brother,
to,
brother.
which I still don't understand it. You know what I'm saying?
I don't either.
I don't get that. So yeah,
I mean, it's
social media has
you
messed
know,
things up.
so here's where it's like the silver lining to this. I can appreciate people's hunger for information. I
Mm-hmm,
can appreciate people caring and wanting to actually do part of the scientific method and have a hypothesis, do some experimentation, like
mm-hmm,
try it. Even as chemists, I can be on the same team with people and we can disagree on the methodology to how to do it,
right.
right? And it's like, yo, that's dope that you got people who are like, I don't believe this. I ain't even mad at you. You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? You say you don't want to take the vaccine. I'm not about to. You need to take the vaccine right now. Like no,
Yeah,
like
yeah, yeah.
we need to learn, and that's why I talk about like again, reforming, science education, especially at an earlier stage, so people
Mm-hmm,
understand the base level concepts.
mm-hmm,
Because where this comes into play is people don't understand the general and base level concepts at an early point.
mm-hmm,
There's familiarity with the words,
mm-hmm,
there's familiarity with a topic, but there's not some of the understanding of just like, a principle, a postulate, a theory
mm-hmm.
that may even still be in the works, but it is like so widely accepted or something that is a law.
Right.
You don't know these things, and then you get all this information and you don't understand like where it's a slippery slope
Mm-hmm,
in your mind. You good, or I just messed up right here, and it's like nah, it's a snowball effect.
mm-hmm,
Because if you mess up at this like step number two,
mm-hmm.
and now you're at 35, you're at a completely different point, and we've never heard of this before.
Right.
We've never seen this before, but you believe this to be fact, other people believe this to be fact,
Mm-hmm.
and it can't be proven. However, it sounds good, it
Right.
sounds valid, it
Right.
seems like it works. And you know yeah, I could definitely talk about that because sometimes it does make the job more difficult where you have people who are like, yes, I went to college for 4 years in undergrad. Some people went to grad school and got a master's after 2 years. Some people didn't, and then they just went straight to med school. And
Mm-hmm,
then after they did med school for 4 years, then they had to go ahead and do like multiple rotations and then like post grad studies for another 3 to 4 years. And if you want to do certain specialties, even five.
mm-hmm,
And then they became a full fledged physician of their own accord, working at a hospital, like literally seeing people, seeing things that they can't always tell you about. And
mm-hmm.
so after, this 8 to 12 years worth of research, you can't just reasonably get up here and be like, well, I read this on Facebook.
Yeah.
You're wrong.
Yeah.
It's like we kind of gotta have some more tact and respect regarding like this information. And it's not to say that like everyone can't read, everyone can't obtain or attain, everyone can't understand.
Mm-hmm,
But there's a reason why we have teachers and students, and
mm-hmm,
the best teachers are the best students. If you just come in straight teaching and you ain't never been a student,
mm-hmm.
you're doing yourself a disservice and everybody else that's like behind you.
Yeah. Yeah. Because you have to have an understanding of where students, uh, the perspective of a student is coming from. You know.
Exactly.
Yeah. I get it. I get
So,
it.
so I love using colorful metaphors and examples, right? So like in the Q&A, one person said, hey man, the vaccine seems pointless if you can still get COVID and pass it. And so, I told him, I was like, that's the thing about the variants, right?
Hmm.
It's a lot of people could still contract a virus, but you want to reduce like how contagious it can get.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And this goes with understanding like what a virus does. And a virus is basically like it's a whole argument on whether it is or whether it isn't living. That's irrelevant. Trust me, in the science community, it can be a hot topic. But the biggest thing is that the way a virus operates is it is built to mutate. Some mutate super quick, some mutate super slow,
Hmm.
some are like super dangerous up front, some are super dangerous on the back end, some are never really dangerous, just super annoying, and some don't do anything. But the biggest thing is, I compared the COVID virus to Cell from Dragon Ball Z, and you get where I'm going. Like when Cell first came through, it was like, oh my god, who is this? What is going on? Killing everybody. I'm
Yeah,
scared. And people are like, yo, we got people who can beat up Cell. Let's go beat up Cell.
yeah.
By the time those people had assembled,
Hmm.
Cell mutated.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Cell came to level two, and
yeah.
they're like, yo, level two is a beast. However, Cell still got them hands put on them. Bink, 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 bink. People holding them down. These are like the vaccines. These are like the mask mandates. These are the quarantines. These are the 6 feet, rules. Yes, that is helping defeat cell. Not one thing in and of its own can defeat cell, right?
Yeah,
But
yeah,
together,
yeah,
these things help. And then I never forget being so upset because if anybody remembers Dragon Ball Z and level 2 Cell,
yeah. Hmm.
Vegeta put those hands on Cell. I mean, Cell was getting whooped. And that's what the vaccine was. When the
Yeah,
vaccines first dropped, it's like, yo, we might beat this thing.
yeah,
And then Vegeta was like, this ain't no challenge.
yeah,
I want to see you at your perfect form.
yeah,
And everybody's like, no, Vegeta, don't do that. Because if he get to his perfect form, we don't know how strong bro is going to be.
yeah,
Kill him now.
yeah,
And America, I mean, Vegeta was like, nah, it's good, bro.
yeah,
I want to see him perfect because we got this. And it's like, sir, I need you to understand. We don't know what's going on. We don't
right,
know what was going on. We
right.
don't know what is going to go on. Kill it now.
Yeah,
Vegeta let Cell get to level 3. And if anybody again has watched Dragon Ball Z, Cell put the most immaculate of hands on everybody. I mean, it got terrible. And that's kind of what we're going through right now.
yeah,
Because
yeah,
everybody was like, oh man, we straight. We ain't got to get vaccinated, man. We good, man. This is going to kill itself off. Oh man, this ain't no villain we ain't defeated before.
yeah.
And it's like, y'all know the earth about to get destroyed, right? Like Buddy is so cold that he cloned himself in the midget babies, and the midget babies are
Yeah.
whooping y'all right now. And y'all had the nerve to be like, we straight.
Yeah.
I'm like, yo, it should have been a telltale sign that we was not gonna be straight
Hmm.
after they literally had to have the CDC, the governing body over diseases and controlling diseases, had to do something simple like, hey everybody, wash your hands.
Yeah. Which honestly, you know what? This pandemic has exposed
Whew,
just how disgusting
whew,
people are. This is
whew,
why I don't
bro,
this is why I don't go out in
whew,
general. But this pandemic has exposed people, and some people are just willingly exposing themselves, which
yeah.
I don't understand. You have celebrities saying that they only take a bath when they when they are dirty, in terms of like where you can actually see the dirt. Like, to me, like, bro, that's way too
Mm,
late. If you
I
can
mean,
see the dirt, bruh.
if we being kind of honest right now, everybody can't see dirt on them. I'm gonna let y'all interpret that how
No.
you will.
Yeah. 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 But see,
Like
that's the thing.
I physically have trouble seeing dirt on my body, so
Yeah.
I wash anyway.
Yeah. Because it just makes sense. It just makes sense. But like,
Whew,
I don't know. I don't
yeah.
know.
Ah, boy, let me tell you. Let me
This
tell
thing is
you.
disgusting, and this is exactly why I was already hesitant with eating food from people's houses just because they might have cats, right? Or dogs that, whatever. Like they just might let their animal do whatever they want on the
Mm,
counter or
mm,
whatever. I was already
mm,
hesitant with that. Secondly, I didn't know
mm.
how well you guys washed your dishes, so I'm good. But
You can wash your dishes and not wash your hands. I don't want none of that,
exactly, exactly.
bruh.
But now knowing that people like are like, oh yeah, I need to
Hmm.
wash my hands. You know how many times I wash my hands? I can't even count how many times I do it a day. Like I
Bro,
watch before we record it. I think I wash my hands about 3 times just for
I keep a
basic things.
I keep a sanitizer in my car. I keep
Hmm.
one in my pocket. I keep one
Hmm.
in my backpack, and
Hmm.
then I keep a separate like sanitizer bottle that's like a antiviral, antibacterial spray in the whip.
Yeah,
I always got it on me.
yeah, yeah.
I keep that thing on me, bro.
Bro, you got to, bro. I got a microban in my car. I got sanitizer in my car. I have sanitizing wipes in my car.
Oh yeah, I got those too. Actually, my bottle of sanitizer sits on top of my sanitizer wipes. Same
Yeah.
thing.
Yo, and to be completely honest, I was pissed when this pandemic first hit because I
Oh,
couldn't get Lysol, couldn't get sanitizer. I'm like,
hey,
bro, I get wipes, Lysol, and sanitizer on the regular. That's
and,
not a every once in a
and
while
real
type of.
quick, I gotta say this. People, hear me loud and clear. Sanitizer is not soap.
Yo,
Wash your hands with soap and water.
and
Lather
thoroughly.
your hands up. Make sure soap is covering every part for multiple seconds and then rinse. I'm tired of seeing y'all go take number twos and deal with everything else under the sun, and I see color on your hands that is not your skin, and then you just want to use sanitizer. No,
Mm-mm,
that is not okay. That
mm-mm.
is nasty. I'm not going to say it gently. That is nasty. Please don't do that.
And you would think these are things that your parents usually teach.
And that's why I said I'm not going to say it gently because sometimes I like have to hold my tongue because you don't want people to get offended. But it's like, do y'all
Yeah.
realize how offensive it is that you want me to be able to trust you or to trust my level of like health,
Hmm.
or a susceptibility around you when you didn't even follow like proper guidelines regarding keeping us both safe?
Basic
Like
things.
there's only so much like diplomacy I can have. So
Hmm.
we just have to be very curt about it and say, yo, that's just not okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Period.
Yeah.
There's a reason why we have soap and there's a reason why we have sanitizer. You don't sanitize your dishes, you wash them.
Hmm.
You don't want to have crud all on your pans and pots and plates and then just put sanitizer or alcohol on it and be like it's okay. If that's
Hmm.
nasty to you, imagine that being on your hands. Just because you can't see everything there
Exactly.
doesn't mean that it's not existent.
Exactly.
I'm a nanotechnologist. I deal with stuff I can't see all the time. And trust me, it is very real.
Yeah. Yeah.
You've never seen a cold particle in your life and you
No.
caught the cold. Like we gotta
Yeah.
like stop thinking we're beyond science.
Yeah. That's the thing I'm not understanding. We we seem to, as a collective, we seem
Yeah.
to trust science up until a certain point, um, and then want to
Yeah.
act as if we act as if we know it all for the things that we don't trust, which I don't understand because I don't know science like that. Like I know the basic things of science, right?
Yeah.
I appreciate science, but the things that I don't know, I leave to the people that do know, and I do my own research on what I need to do, my own research on that I'm going to either ingest or have in my environment, and then I leave it
Yeah,
at that.
definitely.
Like, and even with this the vaccine in general, like I know there was concern, and I was this time last year. I'm not talking like this.
Yeah,
this
definitely.
this time
I
last year,
remember.
bro, I was furious. There was no way I was going to be taking this stuff, but mainly because
Yeah,
COVID hit, and then a few months later, the vaccine is readily available, and
yeah,
like
man.
that was a big thing where like I'm like, how in the hell does this? That doesn't make sense. Like having this done so fast and then have it sent out in a massive way a few months after that, just like it was hard to trust that it was real, or it could actually help. So could you explain why it was done where it came out kind of fast, where like okay, so like we waited for Drake's album a lot longer than we waited for this vaccine, bro. Like, come on.
Woo!
You know what I'm
All
saying?
right, that's real.
So could you explain
Okay,
that?
yeah. Um, Drake's the best scientist we have.
Yeah.
You know, no, I'm joking. No, but, the big the big thing is I try not to get on a tangent and give my ratings on Certified Lover Boy. Um, no, but jokes aside, man, that's super real, and we talked about that in like the last episode too. And you know,
Mm-hmm.
one of the biggest things, like my background is cancer research, so
Mm-hmm.
people are like, "Man, we can't do this with cancer. We can't do that with cancer. Why don't we have this yet?" And frustrating me is like, little do y'all know, we can and we do,
Mm-hmm.
but there are very stringent and strict guidelines to getting a medication out,
Mm-hmm.
or a therapy or diagnostic. I gave people like the example of, everybody's seen it late night. You get that commercial. Have you or a loved one took such and such, or is also being under the name of this, that, or the third?
Yeah.
Call now. We got a class action lawsuit because
Yeah.
people can go overseas and they'll be like, "Yo, we got a year worth of data. We good. Like
Mm-hmm.
nobody's been hurt. Right? We got 3 years worth of data. That's even better than a year."
Mm-hmm.
And then it's like the fifth year is like, yo, I just grew an extra arm, my nipples fell off, and my eyes are green. And it's like, this is why the FDA is like, we're going to wait 10 to
Yeah.
15 years to put a new
Yep.
medicine out because we just want to be sure. We're going to do testing upon testing up on like cells, then upon the multiple animals, which
Mm-hmm.
like similar systems to ours. And then we do human trials and then we wait.
Right.
And I can get with it. This vaccine was different in particular because it was a pandemic. And I know that is a very hard concept to fathom because we have so many people dying and suffering from cancer every day. This
Mm-hmm.
was more or less like an acute response, right? So you got
Mm-hmm.
chronic and you got acute. Chronic is something that's reoccurring. It happens over time. It's relatively manageable, and these are the sucky like decisions within politics. And not to say that I agreed with everything that took place, but I understand why,
Mm-hmm.
right? um COVID was really acute. When it hit, and it hit hard. It
Right.
affected us in ways that we never seen before. Yes, you might have like asthma, or you might have COPD, or you might have a weakened liver, but you've been making it your whole life.
Mm-hmm.
Unlike the cold, unlike the flu, COVID actually exacerbated that, and you die.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It was the literal straw that broke the camel's back
Mm-hmm.
every time. And that's why I was like, okay, we have to do something about this now, because
Mm-hmm.
populations, while they were at risk, they weren't dying, are now dying.
Right.
And so the technology behind the vaccines have been existent, right? We've had live attenuated viruses or live weakened viruses,
Mm-hmm.
for vaccines before. Like we've had mRNA like technology for like vaccines and vectors and like injecting stuff. We've had that before. We
Right.
just never did it with the SARS-CoV-2 virus, aka COVID-19.
Mm-hmm.
So the technology to defeat it has existed. It just never was applied in this fashion. So it was able to come out a lot faster because there was a familiarity with the method. We just had to be sure that it could be applied to the highest degree or to the best degree
Okay.
for COVID-19. And once
Okay.
they saw that, hey, it works for COVID-19 like it worked with everything else we tested,
Hmm.
now we're going to push this out. And so again, I definitely understand the frustration regarding how this moves so fast,
Hmm.
but we're still trying to legalize weed, or
Right.
we don't have like some of these medications for cancer, or why did it take forever for HIV meds. All right, I definitely get that.
Hmm.
But I can say like while everyone can catch HIV, while there's a large group of people under the right conditions that can get cancer,
Hmm.
COVID is more easily contracted than
Right.
all of those. Right?
Right.
It's not required through sex. It's not required through poor eating. You can just breathe.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so it was really, really, really important to do something as soon as possible to prevent things from getting worse, pending people take the vaccine.
Right. Right. Now that makes sense. So basically, the the um the research and the science behind this vaccine has already been in place for years. It's just it has
Yeah.
not been applied to this particular strand or this particular virus.
Yeah, yeah, definitely,
Okay.
definitely.
Okay.
Right?
Okay. That makes
It's
more
like,
sense.
yeah, I mean, we see that with like a lot of different technologies, right? There are upper limits to things. We just don't always test the upper limits, but we know they
Right.
exist.
Right.
Like my car has tires that are speed rated to 186 miles per hour.
Hmm.
What is the likelihood that I'm going to hit 186 in my car? It's like slim to none.
Very low. Yeah.
But I appreciate that it has those capabilities. So I know if I'm going 80, I'm not in my upper limit. I have way more leeway and I
Right.
have way more application.
That makes more
You know,
sense. That makes more sense. Yeah. That because the thing about it is like it's just hard because when you're listening to the news or you're seeing this on social media where everybody has an opinion, it gets so clouded. The truth gets so clouded. You can't see like what's what, and you can't really come to an understanding to make a an informed decision for yourself.
hmm
So that makes a lot of sense. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, and to some people are like, well, why do I need a vaccine? I can take supplements and my body will naturally fight it. And here's the
Hmm.
thing, like your body will naturally fight, but again, it's important to understand how the body works.
Yeah.
Everyone's body doesn't fight it to the same degree,
Right.
right? There have been reports of some people literally being immune to contracting HIV.
Hmm. Yeah.
It
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
rare. It's
Yeah.
like it is really rare. So some are like, oh well, if they did it, I can do it. And it's like that's not how genetics works,
Hmm.
right? Just like somebody might go bald at 20, and somebody might be 80 with a full head of hair.
Hmm.
And it's not to say like, well, if they're like got a full head of hair at 80, I can too.
Yeah.
It doesn't work like that.
Yeah.
And so part of this is understanding that there are limits, not only in general, but when we start getting specific,
Hmm.
you have limits within the broader set of limits. And so your body might not fight COVID the same. You
Yeah.
might, actually take 2 months to recover,
Yeah.
even though so and so took a week or so and so was just asymptomatic. Like
Hmm.
we're still figuring out what causes asymptomatic issues versus symptomatic issues. Why are the symptoms more severe, more harsh with these people? It's like this is a work in progress. This is the real deal, the scientific method unfolding in front of our faces on a general scale
Hmm.
every single day. It's testing to the best of our abilities to understand what's happening, preparing everybody for it, and then adjusting as needed to improve it.
Right. Right. So the the parameters and guidelines that were put in place with like 6 feet of distance between you and a person, or the
Hmm.
mask. How realistic does all that? How realistic is it that all of those things help prevent you contracting COVID? Because I was noticing
Um,
that a lot of people were doing the 6 feet thing for a couple, like maybe like 2 or 3 months, and then all of a sudden, like I get bombarded in the store where people are just like right on my back or standing right next to me.
and again, that goes to like understanding the science. The
Mm.
6 feet thing is real. It definitely helps. I remember like an infamous MythBusters episode, and they're talking about sneezing, and
Yeah, I
they
remember
had
that.
one of
Yeah,
the
yeah.
guys like gargle some blue dye, and they were like, "We want you to sneeze, and we're going to use like this UV light. We can measure like fluorescent lights, and we can also see the color, and we're going to see how far the particles of spit that like came out when you sneeze, like how far did they travel?"
Mm-hmm.
And it was clearly showing that, hey, if you're within this range, you are likely getting hit with the spit. And like they're showing whether it spreads out, whether it's like a narrow line. And that's like with COVID, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like people are like, well, it floats in the air and it can get to anybody. Like, kind of, sort of, right? Per physics, it's only going to go so far. It's going to hit air resistance. If it's that light that it can float in the air, and I mean, we've seen a piece of dust or,
Mm-hmm.
one of the seeds off a dandelion when you blow it,
Mm-hmm.
you can walk by it, and the amount of wind you create walking by because it's so light
Mm-hmm.
is enough to make it completely change course.
Right.
So think of the COVID particle like that. So it's like, hey, 6 feet helps keep you away from whoever is by you. If everyone followed the 6 foot rule, then of course it would limit, the probability of, not limit, it would reduce the probability of you actually getting said COVID particle and being negatively affected.
Mm-hmm.
What happens is, like I said in the beginning, we have to work on understanding because folks don't understand like the science.
Mm-hmm.
I'm appreciative enough that they trust us to follow it. But after you get comfortable because of that lack of understanding, you think that it's better than what might actually exist.
Right.
And that's not the case.
Right.
And we let comfortability like outweigh sensibility.
Yeah.
And we have to be very careful with that.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that makes
If
sense.
For the people in the back who really don't understand about comfortability versus sensibility, you had a baby out of wedlock. You got comfortable rather than sensible in
Mm-hmm.
protecting yourself and or others.
Mm-hmm.
And these are the things that happen. Like you didn't plan on this. You
Yeah.
didn't want this to happen. You
Yeah.
knew that there were preventative measures.
Yeah.
However, you thought upon your own self, I'm good,
Yeah.
until you weren't. And that's the thing that happens all the time. It's always good until
Yeah.
it's not.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
You don't want science to constantly have to play catch up to help you after the fact when, again, we have measures in place that can prevent it from ever happening.
Right. Right.
And I want to use these examples so people really get it. If we can stop it, let's stop it rather than try to fix it.
Yeah. Yeah. Because it's much better. Um. Well, let me ask you this then,
Yeah,
because with with the mask thing, there's
for
been a
sure.
lot of talk about it. With it does prevent you from inhaling it, or it doesn't. The correct way to wear it, the incorrect way to wear it, and also like even if you are wearing it, you can still get it because it can go through your eyes.
Yeah, for sure. And I'm
All
listening. I'm
that
getting
is,
something.
no, you good. So that part of it is true, right? With the eye thing.
Um, Not that I've read. I can definitely do some further research and get back to you about that in particular.
Okay.
Um, let's see where my handy dandy demonstration is.
Okay.
Is this it? This is it. All right. Excuse all that noise, y'all. Wasn't prepared for this. So, but no, you brought up the mask. So, of course, here you see what looks like a surgical mask.
Hmm.
However, it is not a surgical mask. It's just good old capitalism.
Yeah.
We design it to look like one so you feel comfortable.
Yeah.
Whereas a surgical mask that offers more protection versus this baby here. If you can see, this is an N95 mask,
Mhm.
complete with the respirator on top. And these offer vastly different levels of protection.
Okay.
However, they both protect. And so to make it make sense for people, because they're like, well, what's the point of wearing it if I need this mask and this is the only thing that's going to help? The N95 says that it is 95% effective at filtering out. No, we don't have percentages for some of these masks that you buy that are generic. That
Mhm.
doesn't mean they aren't effective. If
Yeah.
you walk outside, and some people, like when it's raining, or walk outside and they're like, hey, let me use this notebook.
Mhm.
You can clearly see the notebook is covering my head up. It's not covering my shoulders. It's not covering my arms, but it is doing something. And you
Mhm.
would rather use this notebook or even
Mhm.
your hand, or even if you don't do that, you run faster.
Mhm.
Why? You want to prevent yourself from getting wet.
Yeah.
None of these methods are as effective as an umbrella, let alone even staying inside a building,
Mhm.
but they help to some degree to get you where you need to get. So, man, I left my umbrella in the car.
Mhm.
Or, man, I need to run into the store and get an umbrella. Cool. You have a method that takes you to the next step that you need to get to. And we have to look at these masks the same way, right? No, every mask is not the same.
Right.
But if you're unable to get an N95, this is preventing to some degree what could happen. Again, it's a game of probability, it's a game of chance, and it's important to understand that any reduction is a good reduction.
Right. Right. Yeah, because I know one. I got one of these masks before that. You put a filter in, and then it's like hard to breathe. It's
Hmm.
extremely hard to breathe. Um, then the mask, the blue mask that you just held up,
Yeah.
that one I wear, whether it's blue or black, I wear that same one, more commonly. But then I have like a cloth mask, um,
Yeah.
so like, is there like a drastic difference with those? Like, if you wear the blue one, do you need a double mask versus like the cloth one?
So the double mask is actually effective because again we don't know like the percentages of like what is being blocked through these generic masks. There
Hmm.
wasn't really like a standard put into play to say, hey, how effective is this, right?
Yeah.
But the double mask, if you know how polarized sunglasses work,
Hmm.
like that, or actually let's not use that. Let's use a better example, right? It's basically like making a mesh thread, right?
Hmm.
If I do this, I hold my three fingers up, like there's stuff that can pass through,
Right.
right? What if I hold like three more fingers in front of it? It's still a gap, but like
Yeah.
it closes the gap some more, right?
Yeah.
It's doubly protective. For
Okay.
those who are on the podcast and are unable to see this visual, imagine imagine cupping your hands and like trying to hold liquid,
Hmm.
right? And if you're holding your hands like or using one hand to hold something, yes, it can spill out. You don't have as much protection, as much coverage. However, you're still able to use one hand to hold some liquid. Like if you stick your hand in a river, pull up some water or something. By using two hands, you're able to better hold the liquid. You have more coverage. You
Hmm.
have more protection against losing that.
Hmm.
It's not to say that it's complete, right? It's not the same as a cup or holding a bucket, but it's significantly better.
Yeah.
And it's like, look at a double mask in that same form of fashion. Like, yo, it's not an N95, right?
Yeah.
But it can still give me great protection. If I cut both hands, no, it's not a cup, it's not a bottle, it's not a Yeti or a bucket,
Hmm.
but I can still hold a sizable amount that I can use.
Yeah.
And the biggest thing that I want to leave us with in this part one of revisiting COVID is that a lot of science is more about sensibility than anything.
Hmm.
We have to make sure that we break it down and not look at it as some like ultra high level concept, more or less. Let's see, not more or less, as opposed to looking at it as like common sense applied to a specific task.
Right, right.
If there are simple ways that we can improve on something, hey, do the simple way.
Hmm.
Multiple simplicity adds up. You don't need everything to be complex. You just
Right,
need it to be effective.
right, right.
And that's the important thing. Think effectively, keep it as simple as possible, and it will make things efficient.
That makes sense. That makes sense. I wish we had this
This is
conversation
everyday
last year.
genius.
Yeah.
Hey, that's what I'm here
Yeah,
for.
yeah. This would have been much better last year for me personally. Like I get it now.
Hey,
I get
man,
it. After having it and seeing someone pass away from it, and having
yeah.
loved ones that I mean got it and almost went to the hospital as well. Like it, yeah. After all of that, I'm good.
Hey, man,
Yeah.
if and I say this one for the culture, you know, if you never heard it, the whole purpose of this podcast is each one reach one.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Most definitely, most definitely, man.
So
Yeah,
in
I
this case, it's
appreciate it.
better late than never. Oh man, hey,
Yeah,
I'm here to make what seems like genius level concepts everyday knowledge because
yeah,
that's all it is.
yeah,
I get paid to use common sense.
yeah, yeah.
That's really it, bro.
And we all have to operate in common sense. I think that's something that we don't uh think about on a daily, or even just
Hey,
utilize on a daily
in the immortal words of Voltaire, common sense is not so common.
at all, at
That's
all.
why I get paid to use it.
And we make this thing so much harder than it has to be, bro.
Hey man, look, they had to teach me to be like, hey bro, chill.
Yeah,
Just add one drop. Why you
yeah,
add the whole bucket? You right.
yeah. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah, man. So yeah, looking forward to the next episode. We definitely talk some more about COVID. I got some question and answers, and in particular, I know that there are questions that I didn't get to touch on that people want answered. And
Oh yeah.
yeah, I'm gonna make sure we get all that, and then be on the lookout for the mental health episode coming very soon.
Oh yeah. Very much so. All right, bro.
Yes, sir. All right, bro. Well, I appreciate y'all tuning in, and man, thank you for your support. And this is another episode of Everyday Genius with the Black Chris Robinson. All right, y'all take care.